You are looking at the tabernacle of the Cathedral of the Incarnation, and as you can see, it is empty. Why is it empty? It's empty because today is Good Friday. At the end of the Holy Thursday liturgy, the tabernacles are emptied. We want that sense of what the world would be like without the physical presence of Jesus. We can never experience the world without the spiritual presence, the sacred presence of Jesus. But what about a world without the physical presence of Jesus? In our time of the COVID quarantine, we hear a lot about making a spiritual communion. Well, what exactly is a spiritual communion? Is it something kind of pietistic and silly that we try to do to identify ourselves with the Eucharist when we can't receive it? Well, no, it is definitely not silly, and it is definitely a deep spiritual act. St. Thomas Aquinas said that a spiritual communion is in effect an ardent desire to receive Jesus in the holy sacrament, as if we had received him. That word that is important is desire. A spiritual communion is an expression of our desire to have Jesus with us. Now, how do we experience that? On the news, there was this great story about a woman who is in a hospital. She's on one of the top floors. She has COVID. She's in isolation. Her husband, who is older, he's elderly, and elderly is anything older than me, but he's definitely elderly. He missed his wife with all his heart. And so every day he would be coming to stand outside the hospital, and he had a different poster every day that he wrote in huge letters. I love you. I miss you. I look forward to seeing you. That man longed for his wife of almost 50 years. That longing between two people who love each other, that's the longing that we desire, and that's the whole point of spiritual communion, to touch that longing within us for the Lord in our lives. And we certainly are missing the Eucharist now. The physical presence of Jesus we are missing now. John Marie Vianney, he described spiritual communion as blowing on embers to reignite a fire. Spiritual communion is not only good in our time to increase our depth of desire, but it's good even when we have access to the sacrament to keep that fire burning within us. Just as the disciples on the road to Emmaus said, were not our hearts burning within us? In this time when we are denied the presence of Jesus Christ, at least and through our Holy Communion, through reception of the body and blood of Christ, let's do everything we can to develop a true sense of spiritual communion, where our desire is even deeper than an older man for his wife of almost 50 years. Like the desire some of you may have to go visit your parents or grandparents in the nursing homes, and you can't. Or if we've lost someone through death, that intense desire to experience them again. And of course, we know the promise. We will experience them again in the presence of the Lord. We can unite ourselves with Jesus Christ through a spiritual communion. It's about deepening our desire